Chosen one, quiet your spirit for just a moment. I am speaking to the part of you that feels invisible, the part of you that chose to do the right thing last week when nobody was watching, even though it cost you money, even though it cost you a relationship. You have been sitting there thinking, why am I suffering while the people who cut corners are winning? But listen closely. They did not win. They failed the test you just passed. God is not silent because he is absent. He is silent because he is proud. You did not just survive the fire. You kept your integrity while you burned. That is what separates the chosen from the called. If your soul just shivered in recognition, that is your confirmation. You are not here by accident. The graduation ceremony begins now. If your spirit confirms this truth, I invite you to subscribe right now to align yourself with this message. Like this video to signal to the spiritual realm that you are ready to receive your confirmation. And listen to me, do not leave before this video ends, because by the end of this transmission, I am going to hand you two specific things. First, I will reveal a biological key, a sound frequency that unlocks the capacity to hold the blessing you just qualified for. And second, we are going to perform a coronation prayer that seals this victory so the enemy cannot steal it back. You have waited years for this breakthrough. Do not miss the final instruction that secures it. Now, we need to talk about what just happened to you. You passed a test that most people fail, but here is the mystery. Most people do not even know they are taking it. You might think you passed a financial test or a relationship test, but that is not it. If you think that was the test, you will miss the reward. Let me show you exactly what you survived. Let us go back to that moment last week, or maybe it was last month. I want you to zoom into that specific memory. You know the one. Maybe you were sitting in your car, staring at the steering wheel, counting pennies to pay a bill, while you absolutely knew, that you could have made a phone call and compromised your values to get quick cash. Maybe you were looking at a contract that would have solved all your problems, but something in your spirit said no, because the source was not clean. In that moment, you felt like a loser. You looked around and saw people with half your talent and none of your integrity, driving the cars you want to drive and living the life you were promised. And the enemy whispered to you, look at you. Your God has abandoned you. Your righteousness has gotten you nothing but poverty. And for a split second, you almost broke. You almost picked up the phone. You almost signed the paper. You almost sent that angry text message exposing the person who betrayed you. But you did not. You swallowed the pride. You accepted the loss. You chose the hard right over the easy wrong. And you did it in total silence. Nobody clapped. Nobody posted about it. Nobody gave you a trophy. You just sat there in the quiet agony of doing the right thing. Chosen one, hear this. That was the diagnosis. That was the evidence. King David knew this feeling. In Psalm 17 verse 3, he says, you have visited me in the night. You have tested me and found nothing. I have purposed that my mouth shall not transgress. Now, we need to unpack this because the English translation misses the intensity here. When David says, you have visited me, the context is crucial. David was not in a palace when he wrote this. He was being hunted. He was surrounded by enemies who were lying about him. He had every reason to snap, every reason to fight dirty. But he invites God to inspect him. The phrase, visited me, implies a judicial inspection. He is saying, God, come into my darkness. Come into my most private, secret moments when I am hurting. And what did God find? Nothing. He found no rot. He found no compromise. He found no hidden idols. That is exactly what happened to you. The reason you felt like you were in the dark is because you were in the dark room of development. And in that dark room, God was inspecting your film to see if the image of his son was developing, or if you were just reflecting the world. You passed because when the pressure crushed you, what came out was not venom. It was virtue. But here is where we need to shift your perspective, because the enemy is trying to trap you in a false understanding of this season. You think God was testing your patience. You have been telling yourself, I just need to wait longer. I just need to hold on. And while patience is a virtue, that is a false summit. If you think this was just about waiting, you will stay in the waiting room forever. God was not testing your patience. He was testing your character in a vacuum. Let me explain what that means. It is easy to be a Christian when the worship music is playing and the bank account is full. It is easy to be kind when everyone is treating you like royalty. But who are you in the vacuum? Who are you when the praise stops? Who are you when the prayers seem to bounce off the ceiling? Who are you when God removes his hand of protection just enough to let the enemy touch your circumstances, but not your soul? This is the test of the kings. You thought you were being ignored? No, you were being observed. The silence was necessary because God needed to see if you would worship him for who he is or only for what he gives. Most people fail this because the moment the blessing stops, their character crumbles. They start cutting corners, they start manipulating, they start bargaining with the world. But you, chosen one, you stood in the vacuum. You kept the posture of royalty even when you were wearing the rags of a prisoner. And that brings us to the biblical pattern that proves your status. You are walking the exact timeline of Joseph. We all know the story of Joseph, but we often miss the specific texture of his test. In Genesis 39 verse 21, the scripture says something profound. But the Lord was with Joseph in the prison and showed him mercy. Notice the preposition. The Lord was with him in the prison. He did not take him out of the prison immediately. Why? Because Joseph had to pass the invisible integrity test. Think about Joseph's daily life. He was a slave, falsely accused of a terrible crime, forgotten by the people he helped. He had every right to be bitter. He had every right to become a criminal in prison to survive. But what did he do? He acted like a prime minister while he was still a prisoner. He organized the prison. He served the other inmates. He maintained his connection to God in a place that smelled like despair. The Hebrew word for with him in this passage implies a close, intimate accompaniment. God was closer to Joseph in the dungeon than he was to Pharaoh in the palace. And this is your reality right now. You have been looking at your prison walls thinking they are proof of God's absence. But your behavior within those walls is the proof of God's presence. You passed the Joseph test. You managed your lack with the wisdom of someone who manages abundance. You treated your few friends with the loyalty of someone who leads nations. But I know what you are thinking right now. I can hear the question screaming in your spirit. You are asking, if I pass the test, if I am like Joseph, if God is proud of me, why am I still in the prison? Why am I still exhausted? Why is my mind constantly filled with anxiety, panic and fear? Why hasn't the breakthrough manifested in the natural realm? This is the cliffhanger. This is the wall that stops so many chosen ones from stepping into their reward. And I need you to lean in closely, because what I am about to tell you is the missing link between your spiritual victory and your physical reality. The problem is not your spirit. Your spirit has graduated. Your spirit is standing in the presence of God, authorized for abundance. The problem is your biology. The problem is that while your spirit passed the test, your brain is still trapped in the trauma of the test. We call this the frequency mismatch. Imagine your spirit is broadcasting on a high-frequency FM channel where blessings, peace, and divine ideas flow. But your physical brain, after years of fighting, struggling, and surviving, is stuck on a low-frequency AM channel. You are literally biologically unable to tune into the new season God has released because your neural pathways are wired for war, not for peace. You are stuck in what scientists call survival mode. And as long as your brain is vibrating at the frequency of survival, you cannot physically hold the frequency of the kingdom. You are trying to download high-definition software onto an old, broken operating system. This is why you feel tired even when you sleep. This is why you feel anxious even when you pray. It is not a lack of faith, it is a biological block. So the question is, how do we fix this? How do we tune your brain to match your spirit without spending 20 years in a monastery or fasting for 40 days just to get a glimpse of peace? How do we break the biological chains that are keeping you in the prison even though the door is already open? The answer lies in a sound frequency that ancient mystics knew and NASA has now confirmed. There is a way to bridge this gap instantly, and I am going to hand you the key to unlock it right now. Imagine a guitar that has been sitting in a hot attic for 20 years. The wood is good. The craftsmanship is masterpiece level. But the strings are so tight, so warped by the heat, that no matter how skilled the musician is, the instrument cannot produce a beautiful sound. It can only produce noise. Chosen one, your spirit is the musician, but your brain is that guitar. And the trauma of your test has tightened your strings so much that you are vibrating at the frequency of stress, survival, and fear. Scientists call this the beta state. In beta, you are hyper-aware of danger. You see obstacles everywhere. You doubt every decision. And most importantly, you cannot hear the subtle frequency of God because the noise of survival is too loud. But there is another state, a state where the strings are perfectly tuned, a state where creativity flows, where intuition is sharp, and where you feel a direct, open line to the divine. This is called the theta state. For centuries, monks and mystics would spend decades in deep meditation just to access this state for a few minutes. It is the frequency of the kingdom. It is the coronation frequency where you stop fighting for scraps and start ruling your territory. But you do not have 20 years to sit in a cave. You are in the world. You have bills to pay, families to protect, and a destiny to fulfill right now. And this is where science has finally caught up with scripture. NASA research has confirmed that we can actually entrain the brain. We can retune the guitar using specific sound frequencies. There is a spiritual tool I want to introduce you to called the Genius Wave. It is not magic, it is a biological key. It is a 7-minute sound wave designed to gently guide your brain out of the chaotic beta survival mode and into the deep, receptive theta state. Think of it as a tuning fork for your soul. When you listen to it, your brain naturally syncs with the frequency of peace and higher intelligence. It clears the fog, it quiets the panic. And suddenly, the instructions from God that were blocked by the static of stress become crystal clear. I am not telling you that you need this to be saved. You are already saved. I am telling you that if you are tired of fighting your own biology, if you are tired of your brain sabotaging what your spirit is trying to build, this might be the tool God uses to break that cycle. If your spirit feels led to investigate this, if you feel a pull to finally quiet the noise, I have placed the information in the pinned comment below. It is there for those who are ready to retune their instrument. But even as I offer you this solution, I can feel a heaviness in some of you. I can feel a resistance rising up in your chest. You are thinking, what if I tune my brain, receive the blessing, and then lose it all? What if I am not actually capable of handling this level of success? This is the shadow work we must do right now. We need to talk about your fear of the throne. There is a voice in your head, maybe it speaks to you at 2 a.m., that says you are a fraud. It is the imposter syndrome. It tells you that if people knew the real you, the broken you, they would never follow you. It tells you that success will only expose your weakness. But I want you to validate that fear right now. Do not fight it. Acknowledge it, because here is the secret. Only a fool would not be afraid of the weight of glory. The fact that you are trembling is proof that you respect the crown. The Apostle Paul spoke to his young student Timothy about this exact feeling. In 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 7, he says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, and of love, and of a sound mind. Let us unpack this. The Greek word Paul uses for fear here is deilia. It does not mean a healthy respect or reverence. It means cowardice. It means a refusal to act because you are terrified of the outcome. Paul is contrasting this cowardice with a sound mind, or sophronismos, which means self-control and discipline. God is saying, I did not give you the spirit that runs away from the throne. I gave you the spirit that has the discipline to sit on it. Your fear is just your old survival identity trying to protect you from the unknown, but you are not a survivor anymore, you are a ruler. So, when the blessing comes, and it will come once you align your frequency, how do you make sure you do not destroy it? How do you steward the overflow without drowning in it? I am going to give you a framework right now called the Stewardship Decision Tree. I want you to visualize this in your mind. Imagine 3 gates standing in front of your heart. Every opportunity, every check, every relationship must pass through these 3 gates before you let it in. Gate number 1 asks, is the source clean? Does this opportunity require you to compromise the integrity you just fought so hard to keep? If the answer is yes, the gate stays closed. Gate number 2 asks, does this align with my assignment? Just because it is a good thing does not mean it is a God thing. Does this move you closer to your specific calling, or is it just a distraction wrapped in gold? Gate number 3 asks, do I have peace in my theta state? When you get quiet, when you tune out the noise, does your spirit settle, or is there a scratching, a restlessness? If an opportunity passes all 3 gates, you open the door. But be warned, the enemy has one last card to play. It is called the premature celebration attack. He will send you a small win, a little breakthrough, right before the big one, and he will tempt you to scream, I made it, and stop pressing forward. He wants you to settle for the appetizer so you miss the main course. When the small win comes, receive it with gratitude, but stay seated. Keep your frequency tuned. Tell yourself, this is good, but this is not the end. Let me tell you about a chosen one who applied this exact protocol. I will not use his name, but his story is your story. About 9 months ago, he was drowning in debt. He had passed the integrity test. He refused to file a fraudulent bankruptcy, but he was exhausted. His brain was stuck in a loop of panic. He started using the sound frequency tool I mentioned. He committed to 7 minutes every morning. For the first 2 weeks, nothing happened externally. But internally, the noise stopped. The panic attacks at night vanished. He began to hear ideas, strategies for his business that he had never thought of before. Then, the opportunity came. A partnership offer that looked perfect on paper. It was huge money. But he ran it through the stewardship decision tree. Gate 1. Clean source? Yes. Gate 2. Aligned? Yes. Gate 3. Peace? No. He felt a check in his spirit. He turned it down. Everyone called him crazy. 3 days later, that partner was indicted for fraud, and 2 weeks after that, the real opportunity came. One that was clean, aligned, and peaceful. Today, he is not just debt-free. He is funding kingdom projects. He went from survival to stewardship because he tuned his instrument and guarded his gates. You are next. So now, I need you to shift your posture. If you can, visualize yourself standing up in the spirit. If you are in a place where you can physically stand, do it. Place your hand over your heart. We are leaving the classroom. We are entering the throne room. This is your activation ceremony. Father, we stand before you right now, not as beggars, but as sons and daughters who have passed the test. We acknowledge the nights of tears. We acknowledge the pain of doing the right thing when it cost us everything. You saw it all. You collected every tear in your bottle. I seal this revelation in the spirit of every person listening. I seal the invisible integrity they have maintained. I bind the spirit of fear and cowardice that tries to whisper they are frauds. I command the frequencies of their mind to come into alignment with the frequencies of heaven. I decree that the beta static of survival is broken. I release the theta flow of divine strategy. I declare that in the next 40 days, doors that have been rusted shut will swing open. I declare that the resources you need to rule are being released from the treasuries of darkness. I declare that you will not just receive the blessing, you will have the wisdom to steward it, the character to carry it, and the power to multiply it. In Revelation chapter 3 verse 11, you said, "Behold, I am coming quickly. Hold fast what you have, that no one may take your crown." Chosen one, do you accept this crown? Do you accept the responsibility of the victory? In your heart, shout yes. Shout, "I am ready." Heaven has heard you. The cloud of witnesses has recorded it. The enemy has been served notice. You are no longer waiting for the shift. You are the shift. Go now. Walk in your authority. The test is over. The reign begins.